I want you to close your eyes for a second. Well, don't close your eyes if you're driving, but picture this.
Okay.
You decide you need a break. You pack a bag, some trail mix, and you head out to the Talladega National Forest right here in Alabama. You pick the Pinhoti Trail.
Right. It's rugged, beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's quiet. You're expecting to see, I don't know, a deer, maybe a wild turkey, a black bear if you're lucky, or, unlucky.
Standard hiking stuff.
And you come around this tight bend in the trail. Sun is filtering through the pines, and you freeze. Because in a clearing, it's not wildlife. It's a platoon of 24 soldiers.
But not in camo.
No, not wearing camouflage, not wearing fatigues. They're wearing full-body, high-end synthetic fursuits.
Oh, wow.
We're talking wolves, we're talking neon foxes, Holstein cows.
With plastic udders, I read.
With plastic udders, yes. And even a red panda.
Yeah.
And the weirdest part is they aren't partying. They are dead serious. They're army crawling, they're rappelling, they're doing these complex military drills in silence.
And if you're that hiker, you're probably thinking you've just walked into, I don't know, a hallucination.
Right.
But what you've actually stumbled on is Operation Peaceful Paw.
Which brings us to the mission for today's deep dive. We are peeling back the layers on what has to be one of those bizarre stories to ever come out of the American South. We have a massive stack of documents, police reports, court filings, interviews with the leaders, and this whole dossier on a group calling themselves the Dire Poodle Liberation Front.
And the name. It sounds like a joke.
It does.
But when you actually dig into these sources, the headline isn't just weird people in the woods. The reality is this is a legally sanctioned paramilitary training camp, and they're preparing for a massive, a biological release operation.
There is so much to unpack there. I think the core question we need to answer today is this. How on earth did a failed bread truck heist, and we will get to that, and a genetic experiment gone wrong, lead to a squad of furries practicing synchronized bolt cutter deployment in a national forest?
It is a wild ride. It's this classic case of, supply and demand meeting a really radical ideology. But to understand the why, we really have to look at the where and the what.
Okay.
Start with the camp itself.
Right. So this is happening right now, today. In the Talladega National Forest, according to one of the hikers, a guy named Michael Stevens, he saw a guy in a raccoon costume teaching rappelling techniques.
And that raccoon is just the tip of the iceberg. The dossier we have gives us their daily schedule, and it is rigid. This is not a convention. They aren't just sitting around, singing camp songs.
So what does a paramilitary free schedule actually look like?
Well, it starts at dawn with something called howling meditation.
Which I have to assume wakes up every actual wolf and coyote in a 10-mile radius.
Probably confuses them greatly. Then they move immediately into morning tactical drills.
Okay.
We're talking formation marching, nonverbal signals, obstacle courses. Midday is strictly for vegan meal prep, which, fits their ideology. But the afternoon is where it gets really specific to their mission. They have breakout sessions on lock picking, tree climbing, and the one that really got me, synchronized bolt cutter deployment.
I just love the mental image of a synchronized bolt cutter team. It implies a level of choreography you don't usually associate with property crime.
It's actually very practical. If you're trying to cut through, say, heavy-duty agricultural fencing, having two people apply force at the exact same nanosecond, it creates a huge mechanical advantage.
So it's just physics.
It's physics in a fursuit. And speaking of the suits, their leader, a guy named Derek Chen, he calls the costume a tactical advantage.
How so?
He was actually seen demonstrating a technique called silent approach in a wolf costume. And he also teaches a class on how to pick a padlock while wearing paw gloves.
That feels like playing a video game on the hardest difficulty setting, for no reason. Why would you handicap yourself with giant plush paws? It's like trying to type with oven mitts.
See, Derek Chen argues the costume is a weapon. He's quoted in one of our sources saying, people see someone in a fox suit and then...
Okay, hold on. Let's stop and think about that. It's surprisingly brilliant in a twisted way.
Right.
If I'm a security guard at some facility and I see a giant red panda running at the fence, my brain registers mascot or prank.
Or escaped birthday party entertainer. It doesn't register threat.
Exactly. It creates this cognitive delay. By the time your brain processes that the red panda is actually cutting your fence with industrial tools, they're already inside.
It's psychological warfare, just using absurdity as camouflage.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
But I have to ask about the legality here. I mean, usually if you set up a boot camp for a heist crew in a national forest, The rangers shut you down pretty fast.
And surprisingly, it's completely above board.
Now,
We have a statement from Jennifer Hayes, a spokesperson for the U.S. Forest Service. She essentially threw her hands up. She confirmed the camp has valid permits. They paid all their fees. They follow every single regulation. Seriously.
in fact, and this is my favorite detail in the whole report, a ranger noted that it's the tidiest camp he's ever seen.
Of course it is. They probably groom the campsite like they groom their suits.
Precisely. And the local sheriff's office is in a total bind. The spokesperson, Robert Mitchell, he admitted that while they're monitoring the situation very closely, you can't arrest someone for practicing theft. Until they actually cut a lock that isn't theirs or steal an animal, they're just citizens exercising in costumes.
So we have a legal, highly organized, very tidy camp of 24 recruits. But who are these recruits? Because this is where the story connects to that bread truck heist I mentioned.
This is the backstory that really fleshes out the organization. 7 of the current recruits in that camp were arrested back in January 2026.
Okay.
This is during that massive ice storm that shut down half of Alabama.
Ah, yes. The infamous bread and milk heist. I remember the headlines, but I didn't realize it was this group. It was a sophisticated multi-team operation. The first unit was the bread truck team, led by a guy named Rusty Ruffian McFurr.
Please tell me that is a code name.
It's his persona name, but it's what he goes by in the police reports. He wears a wolf costume with a matted tail. The report specifically noted the condition of the tail.
Okay.
And he organized a hijacking of a Wonder Bread truck on Highway 145.
How does a wolf hijack a moving truck?
They used a wolf pack formation, used multiple cars to box the driver in and force him to the shoulder. But here's where it gets weird. They didn't steal the bread to eat it. They were capitalists.
What did they do?
They set up a mobile storefront on the side of the icy highway. Hand-painted signs that said, emergency carbs cash only, and they sold the loaves for $20 a pop.
$20 for Wonder Bread. That is absolutely predatory, but you almost have to admire the hustle.
It gets better. 5 minutes later, the second team strikes. This is the milk tanker team, led by Bessie, Bossy, Whiskers.
I am almost afraid to ask what she was wearing.
Full Holstein cow regalia. We're talking a black and white bodysuit, plastic udders, the whole deal. Even a bell collar.
Oh my gosh.
She and 2 other cows siphon a Borden dairy tanker. They had a manual pump, gallon jugs, all ready to go. They set up shop in a Walmart parking lot selling milk for $30 a gallon.
And the logic here was just greed.
They claimed they were solving supply chain issues.
What?
Bessie Whiskers told the police, "We were providing a service." She said the costume was thematic. It was just branding. They even had a recruit in a fox costume with light-up LED strips waving people down.
So these 7 individuals, who are clearly organized, criminal, but also weirdly business-minded, they get arrested. How do they end up in the woods with the Dire Poodle Liberation Front?
Well, after their arrest, they made the news, and that caught the eye of Crystal Morrison and Derek Chen,
Founders.
the founders of the DPLF. They reached out to the Bread 7, as they were called, because they saw kindred spirits.
We saw you hijacking a milk tanker in a cow suit and thought, these are our people?
Essentially, Morrison said they offered them a place in the movement to train the next generation of ethical animal liberators. So now, Bessie Whiskers is the agricultural facility infiltration instructor at the camp.
That is quite the career pivot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the leadership, Crystal Morrison and Derek Chen. The sources describe them as Maplesville's only 2 vegetarians.
And ethical cryptocurrency enthusiasts. They're a very specific type of eccentric. And before the camp, they were already known to local law enforcement. They're currently suing the town of Maplesville for $250,000.
What on earth for?
Involuntary pescatarianism.
Sorry, I'm going to need you to unpack that one.
It's fascinating. They claim that because there's fish waste in the municipal water supplier, and they specifically reference a local catfish named Willie Nelson.
Wait, Willie Nelson, the catfish?
Apparently a very large catfish that lives near the water intake. They argue that drinking water he swings in violates their strict vegetarian ethics. They're even demanding blood transfusions to purify themselves.
Okay, so they are litigious, they're deeply committed to their diet, and they have a tenuous grasp on how water filtration works. But they founded the Dire Poodle Liberation Front. We have to talk about the Dire Poodle part. That's not just a catchy name.
No, this is the scary part of the story. The group is named after a specific biological experiment. A geneticist, Dr. Chen, no relation to Derek, apparently was operating a clandestine lab in Chilton County.
Okay.
And he created what he called Ice Age heritage poodles.
Which to me sounds like a designer dog you'd see in a purse in Beverly Hills.
Far from it. He mixed standard poodles with stolen dire wolf DNA.
Stolen dire wolf DNA.
Yeah, that he somehow got from a big site in Canada.
Yeah.
The result is a creature that weighs 217 pounds.
217 pounds. That's not a dog. That's a furry tractor. That is larger than most adult men.
And they have the temperament of a wolf. The dossier notes they eat 8 to 10 pounds of raw meat a day, they need heavy-duty livestock fencing, and they actively hunt deer.
So Dr. Chen made monster wolves with curly hair.
Pretty much. The FBI raided his lab, seized 23 of them, but, and this is the big but that drives the whole story, an unknown number were sold to wealthy private buyers before the raid.
For how much?
They went for between $50,000 and $150,000 each.
Wow. And the Liberation Front wants to free them.
That was the catalyst. Morrison and Derek Chen had previously tried to liberate one of these 217-pound monsters.
How'd that go?
They used bolt cutters and organic dog treats.
I'm guessing organic treats don't work on a dire wolf.
The attempt failed miserably. The dog ignored the treats, nearly took Derek's arm off. They got arrested. But that failure radicalized them. They realized they needed better tactics, more people, and much better training.
And that's where Operation Peaceful Paw comes from.
Exactly.
It's terrifying to think about. They want to release 200-pound predators into the wild because...
Philosophy. We have to look at their manifesto. They believe in non-violent, peaceful guerrilla warfare.
That sounds like a contradiction.
It is. The chant they use during drills is, free them all, big and small, break the chains, stop the pains.
It's catchy, I'll give them that.
But they also lean really heavily into identity politics. They argue that species identity is a spectrum. So when the furries were arrested for the bread heist, the DPLF released a statement saying, you wouldn't put a cow in a human jail.
They argued that the woman in the cow suit should be sent to a pasture.
Yes, for furry dignity. They believe if someone identifies as a wolf or a fox, the legal system should treat them accordingly. It's this mix of sincere belief and just using absurdity to confuse everyone.
And it does seem to be working, at least in terms of confusion.
Yeah.
So speaking of the legal system, we have to talk about the adults in the room. There's a defense attorney involved here, Ford Reynolds.
Oh, poor Ford Reynolds. The source describes him as perpetually exhausted, and you can really see why. He represents Morrison, Chen, and a few of the bread truck crew.
His quote in the article was amazing. I'm updating my retainer to per arrest pricing.
He's dealing with clients who are live streaming their criminal planning. He points out the obvious legal problem here. Peaceful animal liberation is still theft.
Right.
You can be as peaceful as you want, but if you take a cow or a dire poodle, that doesn't belong to you. It's a crime.
And strictly speaking, taking a 200-pound genetically modified wolf is probably grand larceny.
Absolutely. And then you have the academic perspective. Dr. James Richardson from Auburn University weighed in.
What does the academic world make of all this?
He's the voice of cold reality. He dismisses any supernatural stuff and just calls them idiots. But he did admit that watching a raccoon practice stealth is objectively hilarious. He sees it as just activism with costumes. He thinks they're harmless weirdos.
But not everyone sees it that way. We've got some local reactions that are, let's say, less grounded.
Right. On the fringe, you have Randy Pickett. He's a local conspiracy theorist. He thinks this is all connected to a nearby burial mound.
Okay.
He thinks the costumes are spiritual conduits and that the training is preparation for an interspecies alliance.
So he thinks the furries are summoning spirits.
Essentially. And weirdly enough, he's their only financial donor outside the founders. They ran a GoFundMe that raised exactly $43, and it all came from Randy.
And on the other side of the spectrum,
you have Pastor Dale Hutchins. He views it as demonic furry indoctrination. He called the costumes demonic uniforms and claims they're reversing the biblical hierarchy. To him, it is literally Satan's army doing push-ups in the woods.
It's just amazing how this one group manages to be a legal headache, a biological threat, a spiritual crisis, and a joke, all at the same time.
And that creates a perfect storm of confusion, which is exactly where the DPLF thrives. If the sheriff thinks you're a joke, the pastor thinks you're a demon, and the academic thinks you're a moron, nobody is looking at the bolt cutters in your backpack.
So what's next? They're training, they're growing. 17 new recruits join the original 7. What's the end game here?
The DPLF is finalizing plans for what they call the largest coordinated animal liberation action in Alabama history.
That sounds ominous.
It does. They mention multiple targets, multiple teams. And remember, we still don't know where all those sold dire poodles are.